Tits. I was playing.
They're like, I'm not doing that. They're like, wait a minute, I do have class right now, but I forgot.
But those people who
I got to go.
who have ever been in my trainings or have ever been in my meetings, they know how they go. Short, sweet, to the point.
That's why I asked you to present, Kevin, because I like the method of the match.
Short, sweet, to the point.
And honestly, I mean, about an hour. So keeping it an hour.
We won't go an hour. Unless y'all have like a lot of questions.
I was going to ask you if you're going to be offended. I might have to leave at 1:45.
We won't go an
I got
hour.
class.
I feel like if you do an effective presentation, really gets right down to the meat of things, you don't have to, it doesn't take long time. And personally, you know, as an adult learner myself, my attention span ain't that long.
It's like you start to go
And
backwards
also,
at a certain age.
let's start, we also do time for questions. So your
Your attention span all the way up.
Well, I built in an activity.
By the time you doing anything beyond that, you don't have anything left. You're done.
Just a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Some water.
Will you assist me with the slides? Or can I, or is this interact, is this,
Yeah,
is
you
this
can.
active? It's okay. It's okay.
Somebody has changed it.
Oh, I see what you gotta do. Gotta
One more
use the
time.
mouse. Yeah. Here.
There you go.
Here.
No, it should be touch screen.
It's got so many options.
There you go.
Just hit it. It should.
Oh,
Oh, double.
Hang on. There you go.
And is it 2 fingers to get back, like it normally is?
No, it's just one.
To go backwards?
Oh, to go back?
You know, usually you can touch it with 2 fingers at one time, and it'll go
You're still
back.
going forward.
There you go.
We won't worry about it right now.
I've never seen anybody actually. I just seen 2 fingers or 1 finger.
Yeah, it's got the swiping capability.
I've never seen anybody swipe.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty interesting. If it ever gets too big, you know, you can legit swipes. You spin move there.
Mix it up.
Yes, use your foot.
Just don't let it all.
Behind the head.
Right.
Let's go ahead and get started. So, thank you for coming, joining us. We've got Michelle on the Pittsburgh campus as well. Just wanted to let you know a couple of things before we get started. As always, we record these sessions. Anything you say is being recorded, as well as on the other campuses. So if you don't want it recorded, please do not say it. Wait until Kevin asks for questions, or feel free to raise your hand if you have any. I'll be monitoring the screen on the other campus in case they have questions. Once the training session's over, this will be available on our Blackboard site. So it's under HR/PD. Left-hand side, Professional Development, 2015 Professional Development Training Series is the top folder. And like I said, just remind those that may not have been able to attend or anyone in your departments, if they want to view the recorded training, feel free to do so, and they can reach out to Kevin if they have questions. And I'm going to hand it over to Kevin so we can talk about substantive change. I want to say substantial change. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, let me just say, first of all, good morning and welcome. I'm Kevin Pearson, and I serve the college as the coordinator of accreditation and the QEP. So what we're going to be talking about today is substantive change, which is a part of our accreditation piece. What I'll do for those available, and hey, Michelle, we'll give you something to kind of reference here to work with, and it'll kind of guide us along our training this morning. And I'll point out the paperwork as we go along. Sure. So our agenda today kind of goes as follows. We'll look at defining substantive change, recognizing substantive change, and we'll get into an activity to see what we learned today and see if we have a good understanding of what substantive change is. Okay, so let's talk about what substantive change is. SACS COC, our regional accreditor, defines it as a significant modification or expansion of nature and scope of an accredited institution. Okay. So what does this mean for you? I'm glad that you asked. So when we start talking about substantive change and what it means for us, it basically means any kind of change that the college implements that is a distinct difference or major departure from what we already do is considered substantive. Okay. Now, SACS COC breaks these substantive changes down into different areas because different substantive changes require different kinds of notifications, different kinds of approvals that need to happen, okay? So when we get into talking about substantive change, it's very important that anytime that a substantive change comes up in your purview, your area, that you notify the institutional effectiveness team. Okay? And we'll get into why that's important in a second. Substantive changes must be reported to SACS in a given amount of time prior to initiation of the change. And the word prior is going to be the most important word here because if we need approval for something, that means it needs to be approved prior to implementation. Okay. Now, SACS COC, our regional accreditor, has a ton of schools that they work with in the southern region of the United States. So from Virginia all the way down to Texas. So if you can imagine, there's 100 community colleges in North Carolina, which means that can give you kind of an idea of the amount of colleges that they have to work with and have to go through the substantive changes that these colleges propose. So with that being the case, they require that any kind of substantive change we send way in advance of implementation.
Kevin, when it says in a given amount of time, does it depend on the type of change?
Absolutely.
Dictates the amount of time you have to give them?
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. That's a great comment there. Notifying SACS of substantive changes also means the Department of Ed can ensure eligibility. So as we know, we have to deal with Title IV, okay, which is the Department of Education, which allows us to get financial aid, okay, for our students. So that means that anytime that we're going to offer a new program where students can get financial aid to take the program, we need to notify SACS so that the Department of Education can know so that they can make financial aid eligible. Okay, SACS COC kind of operates as gatekeepers for the Department of Education, so they can make sure that any kind of federal dollars that goes to students to take any kind of courses or programs come from an accredited institution. Okay, so there's the link there between the Department of Ed, SACS COC, and us. Okay, we notify SACS. SACS notifies DOE, hey, they're accredited institution, we've approved them. DOE says to us, now that you can use federal funding for this program. We would rather hear from 20 of you than none of you. Okay? And what that basically means is we would rather hear that you might have something that might be considered a substantive change than to not hear it and then we get dinged for it from our accreditor. Okay. All right, now we're going to look at kind of the procedures for reporting, and we're going to get into the specifics in just a second. So notification and approval prior to implementation, we need to submit a prospectus or a modified prospectus. So if you look at the information that I gave you, you'll see words like notification, you'll see words like prospectus, and these are different types of documentation that need to be sent to SACS. So if we look at this little chart, this little table right here, okay, that I provided you, this goes down and kind of links the type of change to the type of reporting that needs to be done, what kind of time frame, and what documentation is needed. Okay? So when we look at documentation, we look at a couple of different things. We look at sending prospectus or modified prospectus. Now, what a prospectus kind of looks like, and I won't go into a ton of detail, but when we talk about a prospectus, we're talking about a large document that details every function of the proposed change. So I'll give you an example. Right now, CCCC is preparing to open a new site, the Dunn Center site. Okay, we're preparing to offer culinary arts courses there. We're proposing to offer barbering courses there, some continuing education courses there as well. So we have to send in a prospectus to SAC-COC that says, okay, this is where the new location is going to be. Okay, this is what we plan to offer there for students. This is the financial support that we have for this building. This is the faculty that's going to be designated for this particular site. We have to also let them know that we have administrative oversight at the site to conduct all the business that's going to be going there. So there's a lot that goes into a prospectus. A modified prospectus is like a prospectus, but there's some portions of the major prospectus that are not included in a modified prospectus, and we'll get to that. Second type of notification is to submit a letter of notification. Now, a letter is much, much different than a prospectus, okay? A lot of stuff goes into a prospectus. A letter is just that, a letter that we write to SACs and say, hey, this is the plan change that we're going to do, okay? I'll give you an example. In Harnett County, we were offering a small engine repair certificate program, okay? Well, what happened was, back in about 2011, because of state funding and because of state legislator, we were not allowed to offer that program anymore. So we had to write a letter to SACs notifying them that because of state mandates, we're no longer able to offer the certificate course. Well, things have changed since then. Okay, so recently, just this past semester, we got notification from the state that now we're able to offer that course again. So what we have to do, we had to write a letter to send to SACs to say, we plan on offering this course again, or this certificate program again, okay? Now, let's be very clear that when it comes to these notifications and substantive change, this has to do with curriculum, not continuing education, okay? So I want to make sure that I was distinct with that. The third one is notification and notification and approval immediately following decision to close a program, instructional site, branch campus, or an institution. We have to submit a teach-out plan or a teach-out agreement, okay? So what this basically means is, if we say we're no longer gonna offer associate of arts anymore, get rid of it, we're done with associate of arts, okay? That's never gonna happen. But let's just use that for an example. We're no longer gonna offer it. Well, we have to send notification to SACs, but not only do we have to do that, we also have to create a teach-out plan. And what a teach-out plan is it says that for the students that are already enrolled in this program, we have a plan of action of courses that will satisfy their degree, their diploma, their certificate before we close out this program. Okay. A good example of this is biotech here. Okay. We're no longer going to offer that going forward. So what we had to do was send a letter to SACs and say, we're no longer going to offer this program, but we're offering a teach-out program for all the students that are currently in the program so we can get them through, or if they want to transfer, we're going to help them transfer on to another institution to finish out their degree. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, now let's talk about some common types of substantive change. Okay, a substantial change in a program such as altering significantly the length, 25% plus of a program. So let's talk a little bit about some thresholds that SACs gives. Okay, they give a 25% threshold. Okay, then they give a 50% threshold. Okay, and that goes back to this little chart that I gave you. Okay, if you reference this chart specifically talks about some of the thresholds that SACs gives. Okay. Now, when we talk about thresholds, we're talking about the amount of a program that's offered at a particular site. Okay, so if we're looking at 25% plus, what we're talking about is if we offer Associate of Arts on the main campus, but say now we want to offer Associate of Arts on a satellite campus. Okay. If we offer at least 25% of Associate of Arts program at another campus, we have to send notification to SACs that we're doing it. Now, if it's less than 25%, like let's just say a class or two of the Associate of Arts program is going to be offered at another campus, then we don't. Okay, that's not what's considered a significant departure from what we are already offering. Okay, so we've got a 25% threshold. Okay, the addition of new courses or programs that are significantly different from current course/program offerings, including content and location of courses. So let's talk a little bit about what I just stated a minute ago. Okay, if we're adding new courses to a program and it's going to be more than 25%, we have to send a notification. Okay, if we're going to offer more than 25% at another location, we have to send notification. If we're repackaging an existing approved curriculum to create a new program. So for instance, if we're taking a class or two or three from the auto restoration program, and we're also taking 2, 3, or 4 classes from the auto mechanics associate degree program, and we're pulling those courses from each program to create a new program, we have to send notification. Okay. They're very, very, very detailed. And once again, to kind of reiterate what we talked about a little earlier, it's very important that we do this because if students want to get financial aid, we have to get approved first. Okay? And we have to let SACs know what we're doing, what we're offering. Okay. Entering a formal agreement involving a joint or dual academic awarded programs. Say we partner up with Campbell University. Say we're going to offer some courses, they're going to offer some courses, and then at the end of it, the student will be able to come out with a degree. Okay. If we're going to do that, we have to send a notification. Okay. Any questions so far? I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay. Now, when we're looking at so, here's some more different types of possible substantive changes. Establishing an instructional site apart from the main campus, such as initiating a branch campus geographically apart from the main campus, where at least 50% of a credential is offered. So when we talk about that, think about the Siler City site, or think about the Harnett Health Sciences. Okay. It's geographically separated from the main campus, and you can get more than 50% of a credential there. That's considered a substantive change. So before we could ever open up Harnett Health Sciences, we had to submit a prospectus that said, we plan on offering these courses at this site, and a student can get more than 50% of a credential there. Okay. Initiating an off-campus site, including early college, high school, and dual enrollment programs offered at high schools where at least 25% of credentials are offered. So when we start talking about CCP, okay, students from the high school that can take college courses, and now with CCP, we kind of specify that they can't go over, they get over more than 25%, but they're not necessarily working towards a credential. So that's a little different. Okay, they're getting college credit, but they're not right now working towards a college credential. Okay. Relocating an already approved off-campus instructional site serving the same geographic area. Okay, and then entering a formal agreement including joint and dual academic awarding programs. Okay. All different types of substantive changes. Okay. Now, before we get into our activity, I want to make sure that I really kind of explain what a substantive change is. Okay. So let's just say you're part of the curriculum committee. Okay. You go to the curriculum committee meeting and somebody proposes that we offer a new curriculum program. Okay. The first thing that needs to happen is you need to notify the IE department that this is possible. Okay. Because what's going to happen is once it gets through all the approvals that it needs to go through at state level, okay, once the curriculum committee decides and it goes through the administration here at the college, and then we say firmly, this is what we plan on offering. The next step says, or what we're going to ask you as IE is, when do you plan on implementing? Okay. If you plan on implementing, let's say, January 2016, then that means we need to submit a prospectus. Okay. Now let's talk about some lengths of time here. Anytime that we want to submit a prospectus, okay, we have to send a letter of notification to SACS 6 months out. Okay. And then the prospectus has to be submitted 3 months out. Okay. Again, the reason why they ask for these things to be submitted so far out is because they have so many colleges that are submitting substantive change that they need enough time to look over, review, and to make approvals before implementation starts. If there's a letter of notification that just needs to be sent, that needs to be sent also at least 3 months in advance. So I just want you to get a firm understanding that any notification has to be sent well in advance of implementation. Okay. And there's a lot that goes into these prospectuses, which is another reason why it has to be sent so far out. You know, financial support systems have to be put in place. Student support systems have to be put in place. The whole college really is involved whenever we create new campuses and create new programs. We know that CCCC has bonds that were recently passed, so we're going to see some new construction going on, new buildings going on. We have to send letters of notification and prospectuses for all of that. So now that we've kind of talked about it a little bit, you have some kind of understanding of what a substantive change is. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions, Michelle?
Not yet.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit of an activity, okay? Sorry, Michelle. And I've given you some cheat sheets. Okay, so these 2 sheets here and these 3 sheets with the chart are going to work as your cheat sheets. Okay. So now let's look at 2015 substantive change exercise. Okay. You have 9 questions. Okay. Your choice of answer is, this is not a substantive change, this is not a substantive change, however, a notification will be sent for confirmation or book or record keeping purposes. C, this is a substantive change, a letter for notification will be sent prior to implementation. D, this is a substantive change, a modified prospectus will be sent prior to implementation. E, this is a substantive change, a prospectus will be sent 6 months prior to notification. Okay. Now I want you to go through these. We're going to take probably about 10 minutes, go through these and try to see if you can answer these questions. Use your cheat sheet as well. And you can use each other. Use each other too. There's no penalty if you get anything wrong. gonna take a couple more minutes, and give you a few more minutes, and then we'll take a look at the answers to these. See if you got them right. Okay, about one more minute. One more minute. Okay, what do you think? Pretty easy, huh? Pretty easy? Pretty straightforward?
Little digging.
Okay, a little digging. Okay, let's take a look and let's see how we did, okay? Now, this is gonna be on the honor system, okay? Okay, first question is, CCCC will offer one course, 6 credit hours basically, of an existing certificate, which is 17 hours at a local high school, where we do not currently offer any other programs. What's your answer? What'd you guys answer?
C.
C? 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 Everybody said T? You're right. It's a letter of notification. Okay. Because the student can earn between 25 and 49% of credits towards an already approved credential, the class will be offered at a new site, at a new off-campus site. Notification needs to be sent prior to the 25% point. Okay. Let's look at question number 2. CCCC will offer 9 credit hours of an existing certificate, 17 credit hours at a local high school where we do not currently offer any other programs. The proposed high school site will become the 4th off-campus site to offer this program. What did you guys answer? E?
City.
E? It's D. You're right. You're right. Because a student can earn at least 50% of the credits towards an already approved credential if the site will be the fourth or more off-campus site to offer the program. Only a modified prospectus is required versus a full prospectus if 50% or more were offered at the first, second, or third off-campus site to offer the program. Okay? So those little details like that are very crucial. Okay? You guys doing good so far? Question 3. In the fall, the Laser and Photonics Technology Associate degree will be offered at the Solid City Center in addition to its Littleton location. What do you all answer?
You said E.
You said
Now
E?
I'm questioning E.
You said E. What did you say?
Said E.
E? D?
D.
D? Okay, let's see. C.
C.
Okay. So letter of notification. The already approved Laser and Photonics program is significantly different from programs offered at the already approved Solid City site. Okay? So basically what this is saying, right now there's nothing at the Solid City site that's similar to Laser and Photonics. Okay? And now that we're going to be offering there, we need to send notification. Okay? Because that's a significant departure from what's already being offered there. Okay? A local business asks us to offer a welding certificate at their facility for a one-time only specific target audience on a short notice. What did you all answer? D? C? C?
C.
C? Okay. D? Because offering a previously approved program at an unapproved off-campus site validates a modified prospectus versus a full prospectus if the site were seen as a more permanent location. Okay. So you have to remember here, when we're offering things at sites that we are not approved for already, it's a greater notification that needs to happen. Due to state changes, CCCC plans to replace the MET Associate degree with the CAD Technology degree. Drafting has always been the focus of the MET. MET graduates are employed as drafting technicians. Faculty resources and location will not be changed. 17 of 67 hours, which is 25.4% of the associate degree, will be different. So what do you all say? D? 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 Okay, let's see. C. It's okay, you're not getting dinged for getting it wrong, okay? Because this is a repackaging of an existing approved curriculum, no additional resources are needed and has less than 25% of the coursework changed. This is not a significant departure from the original program. Okay? So this is nothing new. We're just repackaging currently offered degrees, and it's less than, well, you're right at 24%, so, 25%, so right at that threshold, we need to send a letter of notification.
Man, Joe, you give me the wrong answer.
The broadcast, we only have 3 more questions, y'all. The Broadcasting Production Program, AAS, and Diploma will begin offering a new certificate. The courses for the certificate will be taken from approved curriculum. What do y'all have?
A B.
B,
A.
A,
E.
E. Oh, we got a nice little mix here. Let's see who got it right. B is not a substantive change, but we still have to report it.
I didn't let you lead me astray on that.
You got this one right. You got this one right. All aspects of the new certificate are already approved, okay? Because they're in the associate program already. However, to meet the DOE's need of releasing financial aid for this program, SACS needs to acknowledge approval of the credential. Okay? Remember we talked about earlier, there's sometimes that, well, most of the time, DOE needs to know when we're offering something so that students can still get financial aid. Okay? In in the fall, the toxicology technician program, AAS diploma and certificate, will be closing at all of the campus locations. What do you have?
Went back and forth on that one. I would go with A though.
A? What the rest of you have? C?
I said C.
C?
C.
C? Okay, let's see. C is right. A letter of notification with teach out arrangements. Okay. Once the decision to close a program has been made, notification needs to be sent. Teach out agreements need to be included in the notification. Prior approval is needed before closure. 2 more questions. CCCC plans to reconfigure existing courses into approved programs to create a new degree. 2 courses, 15% of the program will be new. What do y'all have? You said B? Anybody else want to take a stab? Okay, here we go. You're right. B. Not a substantive change, but report. Or E, prospectus, and let's differentiate. There is not enough information here. This is a little tricky. This one's a little tricky. This would not be a substantive change if the newly proposed degree were not significantly different than the existing programs already offered. This would be a substantive change if the newly proposed program were a significantly different departure from the already approved program. So these are things that the IE staff have to go through to make sure that we differentiate if it is a substantive change, if it's not, and what kind of notification is needed. And remember, this has to happen months in advance of implementation. Last question. CCCC enters into an articulation agreement with Campbell University for graduates of the Human Services program to transfer into their BSW program. What do you have? It's okay. Just,
D.
Wait, you said E?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
I said D.
You said D? Okay. A.
Hey.
It's not a substantive change.
All right,
Do
I think we
not
failed this test.
When's the retest?
Do we have bonus points?
Articulation agreements do not need to be reported. Why do articulation agreements not need to be reported?
Because it's Saks, Campbell's of Saks.
It's already approved. Recognizing what changes need to be reporting is confusing, as evidenced by the little quiz we just took, right? So, with that in mind, that is why it's important to please consult with please consult with us of any possible program or site changes as far in advance as possible, 3 to 6 months notification prior to the initiation of the program. That's why it's important. Anytime something comes up in your meeting, your department meetings, or you guys start talking about adding programs, taking programs away, you want to do a new certificate, new diploma, whatever it may be, that's why it's so important to contact the IE staff immediately and say, this is what we're planning on doing. Is this a substantive change? And if it is a substantive change, what needs to be done? And then that's when we'll take over and answer the tough questions that you all just tried to answer so that we can make sure that we cover all our bases with Saks COC. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
I extended time on my quiz next time.
I only gave you I said I was gonna give you about 10 minutes, it was probably more like 8, okay? But you all did well, y'all did well. Keep this information with you, take it with you, keep it with you. It's gonna be important to know. And you'll be hearing more about this. A lot of times when the IT department sends out notifications and prospectuses, you have no idea about it, you don't hear about it. But it's important that you know that this is going on. That way, if something comes up, you can notify us. Okay? Any questions, Michelle?
No, thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to take the quiz.
It was tough.
You were lucky. You lucked out. Okay, so thank you again for attending this session here. We look like I'm going to get you out about 10 minutes shy of our time, which is good. If there's any questions that you have pertaining to social change, accreditation, QEP, any of those type of things, please feel free to reach out to me at my email, give me a call in my office. My extension is 7386, and I'll be more than happy to help you, myself or Stormy Massatelli, who's the Director of Institutional Effectiveness. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, Michelle, we're gonna hang up now.